She's the Paddington train crash survivor who became known as the lady in the mask.
You wake up and open your eyes, and you suddenly realise you're lying in a hospital bed.
She shows companies and individuals how to overcome their own challenges by sharing her strategies developed from her unique experiences.
Once I was awake, there was a team of doctors by my bedside very, very quickly. They went on to explain the long road that lay ahead of me if I wanted to recover. And all that was going through my head back then was, how the hell am I going to survive this? I'd come to realise very quickly that my old life, the life I knew before, had been completely destroyed. It was ripped up. It was gone. And eventually, I thought, actually, I will turn to nature. I decided that I was going to look at my life a bit like a river might. Some rivers turn out to be majestic and awesome, like the Nile or the Colorado. And some are very tranquil and quiet, like a woodland stream. But they all have something in common. And that is that they don't stop. They are relentless. They keep flowing on. And so I decided to adopt this in my own life. I decided to pull out strategies from it to use for myself. I did, and I still use them. I use them every day, every time. And I'm delighted by the success that continues to roll in from using them. So I'm going to share these strategies and some of my experiences with you. And though this might sound counterintuitive, I use this with some of my physical injuries. My hands lost all layers of skin. In fact, my hands were about 4 times the size that they are now. They had been grafted, so I had no knuckles, they were completely smooth, and I couldn't bend my fingers at all. I had no feeling in them. The fingertips had to be amputated. And the doctors had said to me, okay, the only way you can get movement back in your hands is by intense physiotherapy. And after a while, by adopting this going with the flow, you can't change it, get on with it, I surpassed what the doctors were expecting from my hands. I managed to get 95% usage back in my left hand. Well, it's normally 95% until I've shut my thumb and fractured it in my car door. But it is about 95%. The next time I really faced a challenge was actually when I was out of hospital. It was when I began the campaign with the Paddington Survivors Group. I was determined that I was not going to allow this to happen to anyone else. However, I thought, taking on a battle like that, where do you start? It's a bit of a bigger problem than just going with the flow. Now, when a river hits an immovable object, it will divide and it will find a way to flow around that problem. But it's still aiming for the same goal. It still wants to get to the ocean. So I thought, well, maybe perhaps I could learn from this. So in the campaign, weird though it sounds, I adopted the divide and flow around strategy. And because of the pressure we exerted, 97% of Lord Cullen's recommendations were implemented. So I'm quite proud of what we managed to achieve. And that was very much adopting that, right, we've got these problems in front of us, how do we divide? How do we change to divide and flow around it and then keep aiming for our goal? But sometimes, let's think about it, the river hits a much bigger obstacle. It could be a mountain range, or it could be a vast expanse where it hasn't got any specific path to follow. So what does the river do when it hits a huge obstacle? It carves a new path. The time I used this particular strategy was when everything had stopped and finished. I'd finished campaigning. My health was at the stage where it was stable. I dropped out of the media site and I sat down and I thought to myself, what do I do now? And now I have such a varied life, I'm never 100% sure what I'm going to be doing each day. Correction, I was this morning because I knew I was coming to see you guys, but I now do 4 or 5 things all at the same time, which actually my doctors, I still am under doctors, my doctors despair when they look at my diary. However, it's led me on to new and exciting areas I would never have dreamt of. But again, that's carved a new path. And again, it's opening up new doors for me. And I'm just a normal person. It just happens I've had slightly extreme experiences and things that shouldn't happen to people in a normal day. However, life's always throwing challenges at us. If we all adopted this thinking, so the next time you hit a small problem, possibly sit there and think to yourself, okay, can I burble across this? Can I change it, or can I burble and go with the flow with it? If it's something a bit bigger, remember the divide and flow around, and you keep going on to your goal. And then finally, if it looks like an enormous problem, and you're thinking, there is no getting around this and there is no burbling over it, then fine, you may have to sit down and carve a new path. And it may not be one that you particularly want to, but you have to look at it realistically. And you don't know where that new path may lead. So burble, divide, or carve. But above all else, what I want you guys to do after today is enjoy your journey to your sea. Thank you.